Ever wondered how to craft a professional stationery systems for your personal branding or for your clients? Today we're going to dive into the art of creating cohesive, eye-catching designs that stand out. Hello, my name is Tina Karani. I'm an educator and also an Adobe education leader. In today's demo, I will guide you through the essential steps to create effective stationery systems using Adobe Illustrator. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your design skills, this tutorial is tailored for you. We'll explore everything from setting up your workspace to applying your brand's visual elements consistently across various formats. So grab your coffee and let's get into it with Adobe Illustrator. The very first step to create your stationery is to creating your artboard. So I'll go to Adobe Illustrator. I'm using Adobe Illustrator 2024, but you can just pretty much use any version of the Illustrator that you have. I will go to the print presets, look for letter, because our stationery will consist of at least a letterhead. Okay, so here is our letterhead. I'm just going to paste the rest of the information that I would like to have on here. So here is the content for my letterhead. Here I have my logo and some information about my business card and what I would like to have on my business card envelope and so on. So the next step is to create the rest of your artboards. I use the rectangle tool on the left. If you don't see it by any chance, you just click and hold and then select the rectangle tool and then just I click once on here. For business card, it should be 3.5 inches by 2 inches, or it could be 3.5 inches by 175 inches. So I usually prefer to go with this second option. So I just type in 3.5 inches. I put the IN. This is very essential to know the unit. If you prefer to work with centimeters, you can again convert these and then it's still accurate by 1.75 inches. So yeah, it just automatically converted to 2 points, which is totally fine. Okay, so here's my business card. What I'm going to do is to go to Object, Artboards, and convert to Artboard. Next, I want to create my envelope. So let's just move that information on here. Let's get them out of the way. Okay, next is my envelope. I do the same thing. Click on the rectangle tool, click once, and then the envelope is 9.5 inches. And then by 4.125 inches. Click on OK. So next, again, I'll have to convert this one also to an artboard because right now it's a shape. As you can see in Illustrator, it only just recognize 2 artboards. So I have one artboard here and one artboard here. That meaning that if you have some shapes, even if you just change the color to white color, it is still when you just do try to export your artboards, it will not come out because it's not an artboard. So whatever graphic you include on it, once you just do the export, it's still you can save it, but it won't be exported as an artboard. So that's why you always need to then convert them to an artboard. Okay, so here is an example letter from this coffee shop. This logo belongs to a coffee shop. So what I will do, I will just hold shift, use the selection tool, move my logo right over here for my business card. Change the size if you like, and don't forget the business card usually has 2 sides. So if I want to duplicate this artboard, so you can definitely do the same thing. So just click once, create a rectangle in the size of a business card and then convert that to an artboard. But what I prefer to do is to press on Shift O on my keyboard, hold Alt or Option, click and drag to duplicate my artboard. Then I click on ESC, escape. Okay, so here I have the front of my business card. And here is the back of the business card. I have some information, so I don't need that anymore. Just like delete that. So next is the information on the let's see, the front of the business card. I already have that. That's ready to go. Then I have my business card. I'll just like copy this info. So you see how I did that? I click on the text tool, use the type tool, highlight this information, whatever I want to copy from this, like Command C or Control C. You can even just like do that from a Word document. Just like copy the text that you want and just like, you know, create a new text box to paste your text on here. Command V. I also should mention that never click once to paste your text, because in that case, if you do that, let's see what happens if you try to kind of like change the text box size. It will kind of like distort the text. But if you do it this way, as you can see, the text is fluid inside. So again, what you will do, use the type tool, create your text box. It will fill out the space with lorem ipsum, which is a placeholder text. But then I'm just going to paste my text onto that box. Again, Command A or Control A to highlight all the text, and then Command V. Okay, so here is the address. I don't need to include the text address. And then here is the website. Also not necessary to include the website. And then definitely you don't need that www. People, when they see .com, they know it's a website. The phone number could be like a P, or you can just use like let's see, like an icon, if you will, an email as well. So what I do next is to add space between between the lines. So usually the more common way to do this is that using the hard return, like pressing like, so we'd use it while you have the text box selected, you know, move the cursor over here and then press on return, and then just like again return and return. Well, this is one way to do this, but it's not a professional way of doing this. The more professional approach will be highlighting all the text. On the right hand side, on the properties pane, there is a section for paragraph, and then you would just like add space after paragraph. So I would just like add space like that. And I also definitely want to include the name of the cafe in here. Maybe for that, yes, you can just do a hard return. I'll make it bold so it will stand out. So the other typographic issue here is that there is like we equally space all these sections. So however, this is the first and second line of the address, so technically these kind of should be grouped visually together, so there should be less leading with spacing between those two lines. So what I will do, I will just like delete that space, and I will just do shift and return. So now the kind of like visually together, we know that this is the address, this is like the phone number. And if I highlight this text again, definitely the tracking should be not less than a 0. And what I will do is that the 10 point size, it should be good. Don't go over a 10-point font. For most of the majority of the font, that's a very good size. People go use 7 or 8 or 9 as well. So I'll probably go with a 9 for this. And then you can increase the space between the lines as well, but I prefer, again, the more professional way would be to add space between paragraphs like that. So every time I want to come back, I just like click once here. All right, so I have my information right here. There's definitely 100 other ways I can just like do this layout to make it you know, look nicer and everything. So one of the approach could be putting the phone number, like the email and the phone number in a separate text box, or make that a 2-column. So there are many different ways you can do this part. Okay, so next, and then I want to put the logo right here. What I will do is that hopefully you already have, you know, your guidelines, like, you know, for your color guides already set and ready to go. I'm just going to arrange center back. So since it's a coffee shop, the cliche, I mean, more cliche type will be like using only like brown tones. But again, although those are like cozy and warm, you always want your business to kind of stand out. So you can kind of like, you know, show like the calm environment using other colors, maybe like some pastel colors. Or you can also be like, make it look like a more modern type of cafe, like, and in that case you can just like change this to a gradient, or change it to a very vivid color. So to do that, again, you use the rectangle tool. If you want to use the rectangle tool, you can just like click and drag, and then right click, arrange, center back. And then so this is my business card, front and back of my business card. Probably go slightly smaller for the font size, and I will also probably reduce the space between the paragraphs a little more, something like that. Okay, so next what I will do is to create my envelope. So for creating your envelope, again, you'll need some other information. So I'm just going to hold Alt, click and drag, or you can just like do edit, copy, edit, paste. Just paste your logo right here. And then for the envelope, again, we have the logo right here, and here is like the address. Usually they only include the name of the business and the address. Okay, so something like that. Probably I won't include the tagline here. So something like that. Definitely you could just like make it like look nicer and everything. There are many different tools, like line tool. You can include like a little line over here to kind of like visually guide their eyes to the address. You can also change the you can also change the thickness, the stroke of this stroke, for example, to 0.75 if needed. You can also hold Shift to kind of like directly move across the X and Y axis. So something like that. So yeah, that would be for the business card. Again, consistent spacing is also essential. Just keep that in mind. Also, consistency is important in other respects. So if you're just going with a line like that, you can hold Alt, click and drag, and use that in your other stationery sets. So for example, and in your business card and in your letterhead and so on and so forth. So you can also, it doesn't always have to be the same exact thing. So what you can do, you can just go like that if you like. I always prefer to go with something like minimal. So always believe in a believer of less is more. Hold Alt, click and drag, Maybe I will use it for like this right here. Then highlight this text, and using the paragraph, I'll just move them a little bit to the right, just a tiny bit. So this way we're first like see the name of the business, and then the rest of the. So as you can see, I just like when I'm gonna highlight this text, I click once, and again using even if you're in the selection tool, you can just select and click once, and again double click, and it will go to the type tool, and then I highlight this text again, and then. So most of the items, like for example, if you are in character, like there's a lot more like all caps and so on in that 3 dots inside the paragraph plane, and then there's like in the paragraph section of the properties, you should also click on those 3 dots if you want to avoid hyphenate. You can always uncheck that one. I just want to add a little more space. Space is good because it can kind of like help our eyes, see clearly. Okay. I want to make sure that this kind of like lines up with the base line of this line. Okay. So although this one is like a very simple, like very simple kind of version, you can definitely make it stand out by like using more like adding some information hierarchy, or just like playing around with the colors. So if you want to change the colors, select the color of this one, click once, and then we'll click on the for example the gradient option, and then I will just like click on, instead of this gradient, you can always click on edit gradient, and then just if you click and drag to the right, it will delete some of the extra ones, except if you want 3 different colors, which I doubt it. I just want to show you how that works. But if you just want like a 2-color gradient, you can just like click on one of these. If you click it, like by the way, if you just click here, it will just like add more. So we can get rainbow. Okay, so like now, like we have this gradient. It's very nice, but I prefer a gradient with like that. So with these type of gradients, you can just like select like a mesh. You can just like select a color and just like change that color to a slightly different color. For example, this color, and then you can just pick that one, double click, and then you can just like again adjust that one slightly, add a hint of maybe pink or maybe blue, something like that. Blue and green, so like a teal. And then this one, I don't know if you need it though. Probably I will just like change that to white. So you have kind of like you're working with like a little mesh in a way. And I'm going to I'm just going to make that a little bit lighter to still give you that warm, cozy feel of a coffee shop. So something like that. So you could do something like that, and then if you like that gradient, you can kind of like use it for your other sets. For example, if you just like click and drag, you can kind of like use that in your envelope. Also, I should mention that you should always stay away. Always make sure that it's to the back. Always also stay away from using too like a dark paper for your dark color for your envelope, because the post office needs the majority of the white space, and the color just like a very like a tanned paper, like a slightly like kind of like a color paper, it's okay, but again, they need it for like, you know, make sure that they're like, you know, they can, when you add the address right here with a pen, when you write it with a pen, everyone can kind of like easily see it and there's enough contrast. Okay, so I'll just like hold Alt, click and drag, go into my letterhead. Definitely I don't want my letterhead to kind of like, I don't want, if it's your client, you don't want them to get upset over the printing costs. So what I will recommend is that I hold Alt, click and drag. What I recommend is that even if you plan to use color, make sure you just like keep it to the minimum, like not too much. So it could be like a hint of color here and there, but you don't want to like to overdo it because it just like adds so much costs later on to the company. So this is my letterhead. Again, if you want to include this in your portfolio, if you want to just like share that with your potential clients, in any case, it's important that you do your best, you know, kind of even drafting a type of like a letter instead of just like delivering like a blank letterhead. It's also just like you are, as their designer, you are kind of like giving them ideas like how they should usually do the layout for their stationery sets. So I highly encourage you guys to think about that while you are working on your stationery sets. The other things to stay like to avoid like common typographic issues is that again, make sure that again use, instead of a hard return for the paragraphs, use the add space between paragraphs. If for some reason you don't see the paragraph section in here or the character section over here, you can always go to Windows, and then there is like a type. Type, and then character and paragraph are over here. If you just click on them, it's just more like an extended version of that plane. So you can just also drag and, you know, drop it right here if you like. And okay, so that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. But let me just like also add information on the letterhead. So it's pretty much the same information. I hold Alt, click and drag, and you can just like, you know, include, except I need to highlight this area, put that back to 0, and then, or actually, why not, I would just use the same for consistency. So if you want to select multiple, you click on this one, hold Shift, select that one, Alt. When you hold Alt, make sure you just see the double side, the kind of the selection tool with its shadow. So that means that you are copying this section. So Alt, click and drag. You hold the Alt the whole time until you leave the mouse key, and then you can then leave the Alt key or Option key. Okay, so then here it is. Here is our letterhead. For the letterhead, I think if it's a longer letter, I think you should, I don't want it to go above this. I want it to line up with this, the name of the cafe. And then I'll probably go a little bit bigger for the logo size. And I want definitely these two to kind of like line up. And then let's see, you can also change the address to like a 3-line, a shift return to do that, to avoid the text being too long. And you know, kind of like creating a layout like this, just like a very open space on the left, usually makes reading the text a lot easier. I highly encourage you guys, don't go with like layouts like that. I mean, it works, but it's just like you have weird spacing over here, except if you move that over here. Still, I always think that like the letterheads that are kind of like are in this layout are like much more cleaner and like nicer. Again, the other typographic issue is orphan and widows, like a word by itself. Just try to stay away from those. Also what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select this text box, and I'm going to just change the paragraph to justify left. So this way it's just again all like nice and cleaner too. And then I want to add my signature as a community outreach coordinator of Owl Perch Cafe. I'm just going to copy and paste my name over here, and this time I'm going to I'm going to change the font to a script font, and then so make that look like my signature. There are some other fonts too. So script, that's fine. This one is good too. Okay, and again, increase the size of my signature. If you want to add a space above a line, you don't want to do like the hard return, you can always highlight the text to add space above that line. You can always just like click on, should be 0. I'm just like going to highlight that text and then add leading, spacing between the lines. I will add space above that area. Okay, and then this information is all kind of like some of that is a repeat. Probably could just like change that to the person's email, and then you can also add some space over here. Since the address is already on that letterhead, so sorry, on the letterhead. The other thing is that I wanted to mention is that the leading in general, like if this feels like a little bit too tight, again you can highlight everything and add a little bit more space between those few things, and you can always just change that to like a darker gray, so it will stand out, and then people can kind of like read the letter next. Okay, so that is our demo for today. Hope you enjoyed it. One last thing before we leave is that for stationery systems, I encourage you to create different sets and then decide on which one you want to go with. To do that, you can just like easily duplicate your artboards holding Shift and O on your keyboard, holding Alt or Option, click and drag. Same for this. Hold Shift, you can just select multiple, hold Alt, click and drag. Okay, and then again Shift O. Okay, Shift O. Then I move those two. Just make sure that they kind of like symmetric on that area, and then you can kind of explore like some other typographic, like such ideas. For example, you could maybe in one variation include this information. Oops, what was that? Include that information in the bottom. The one other thing I wanted to mention is that if you want to, for example, add a watermark like this one to your letterhead, you can definitely do so. To do something like this, what you can do is to kind of like just change the size of your logo. For example, this one. Like that. I want to just like right now kind of like crop it a little bit. So to do that in Illustrator, you need to go again, use the rectangle tool. So something like that. Hold Shift, select the other shape in the logo on the watermark in the back. Select. So now you selected both this, and hold Shift, shape on top, and then right click and make clipping mask. So again, don't forget to arrange and send it to back, and then so you could have your watermark on some of your stationery sets. So for example, on this second set, if you will want to kind of like have a watermark, you can definitely do so. But again, if I were to choose among like these two, I'll probably go with the left one. It's more like minimal, it's more simple, it's more modern. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys have created. Definitely include it in the comments, and let me know if you have any questions. And that's a wrap. I hope this tutorial has illuminated the process of creating a professional stationery systems using Adobe Illustrator. Remember, practice makes perfect, so don't be afraid to experiment with different designs and color schemes to find what best represents your brand.